First of all, how many of you are independently wealthy, that you have millions of dollars in the bank and you do not need to work? You do not need to work. Anybody out there? A couple of you? All right. Well, if you're like me, right, I need to get up and go to work every day. Right? I need to go to work and make sure that I have a paycheck so that I can pay my mortgage, keep my kids in school, put food on the table. All the fixed expenses of my household are taken care of with my paycheck. But what happens if I become sick or hurt and I'm out of work for a period of time? Right? I get in a car accident on the 405 and I'm out of work for 6 months. What's that going to look like for me and my family? What's that going to look like for you? If you become sick or hurt and you can't go to work and you can't put the key in the door for 6 months, or how about 8 months? How about a year, 2 years, or longer? So what I was going to really kind of go over this afternoon are what are the sources of income when I do become sick or hurt. And in the state of California, how many of you are W-2 employees? You get a W-2. One, two, a few. Okay, as W-2 employees in the state of California, we have to participate in a program called state disability income. It's the state plan. We pay into it as a W-2 employee. I pay 1% of my income into that plan. My employer takes it out of my paycheck. They send it to the state of California. And what that entitles me to is state disability income. Starts after 7 days. So I have to be sick or hurt for 7 days. That's the waiting period. The amount that I'm going to receive is 55% of my income, and that's going to be tax-free. So after tax, I'm probably going to be taking home what? 75, 80% of what I typically take home. The program lasts for 1 year. So it's a 1-year benefit. We in California have the best short-term disability plan in the country because it does last for 1 year. And it does a great job of incomes about $104,000, $100,000. Above $100,000, there's a cap. It caps out about $104,000. So if I'm making $200,000 or more, I've got a problem because I'm only going to get 55% of that first $100,000. So the limitations of SDI are, number one, it's capped at $100,000 of income. And more important, it ends after 1 year. Now, what else is available when I become sick or hurt? Social Security disability. How many of you have Social Security disability? Come on, everybody, you have it. Everybody participates in it. It comes out, you had to pay like what, 6.2%, right, of your income? Plus, if you're an employer, you got to pay what? Another 6.2%, right? So we have Social Security disability. Social Security disability, you can't apply for Social Security until you've been sick or hurt for 5 months. So the waiting period is 5 months. At the time that you apply for Social Security, your disability has to last another year or end in death. Plus, the definition of disability is very stringent. The government says that you cannot do the duties of any type of occupation. You cannot earn any income in the economy. So about 76% of all first-time applicants are denied Social Security disability benefits. And of that, a small percent then go back and get benefits, but it typically takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, or even 5 years. I had a good friend, she had a condition. It took her 5 years finally to get a small, modest Social Security disability check. And how many of you in the room are going to rely on Social Security as your sole source of income when you retire? Anybody? Right. And the reason why we're not going to rely on Social Security retirement benefits is because it's a safety net. If I'm making, say, for example, $20,000 or $30,000, Social Security disability is going to probably replace 60% of that income. But if I'm making $100,000 a year, Social Security disability is going to replace maybe 25% of that. Only about 25%. Now, if I'm making $200,000, again, it's going to cap at about maybe 15%. So the maximum that we see for Social Security disability is around 25% almost $2,500 a month. The average Social Security check in the U.S. last year was $982 a month. A month. That's it. So the importance of really kind of understanding how benefits work is how then do we supplement what we have through the state, or how do we supplement Social Security disability? And there's several ways to do it. Does everybody have one of these green flyers? This is a great presentation that I get from an organization. It's a nonprofit organization called lifehappens.org. So feel free, if you need additional information about income protection planning, you can go to that website. Now again, another source of income that I didn't cover is workers' comp. Yeah. How many of you are self-employed business owners that opted out of workers' comp? Right? Quite a few of you have. So you can, as in the state of California, as the owner of a company, opt out, so you don't even have workers' compensation. But the good news is workers' comp only covers about 5% of all disabilities. Almost 95% of all disabilities occur off the job site. Sicknesses, accidents, cancer, heart attacks, strokes, all that kind of stuff happens off the work site. So again, it's important that you kind of really review what you have available to you, and the risk is real. How many of you have health insurance? Technically, you're all supposed to raise your hand, right? Just saying. But we have health insurance for what reason? Why do you have health insurance?
To stay well.
So you can stay well. Why else do we have health insurance?
In case we get sick.
In case we get sick. But did you know that health insurance doesn't pay you when you get sick or hurt? The doctor gets paid. He gets to drive that new Mercedes. Or like Lisa, a new Lexus, right? The hospital gets paid. They get to add a new wing. But does health insurance pay you? No. So really, you need health insurance that pays you. That's the type of programs that we're going to talk about quickly this afternoon. And it's, again, important to have health insurance that pays you, because is there a waiver of premium on your health insurance premiums? In other words, when you get sick or hurt and you're not working, do you still have to pay your health insurance premiums? You do, right? So if your health insurance premiums are $1,000 a month, where does that $1,000 comes from? Typically, when somebody gets sick or hurt, we exhaust savings. That's the first place that we go, is savings. And then what we then do is, when we're sick or hurt and there's no money coming in, we're going to rate our retirement plans. So if we have a SEP IRA, we have a 401k, we have a regular IRA, we're going to take all the money out of that thing and pay the penalties, because we need money. So again, it's important to think about where the sources of income come from when you're sick or hurt. And there are really basically three types of coverage available in the market today. Individual disability insurance policies that can supplement on top of your Social Security or on top of your SDI benefits from the state, or perhaps a group plan that you put together for your company. If you're willing to pay the premium for your employees, that's called group long-term disability benefits. Or if you belong to certain associations, for example, perhaps somebody is a dentist and they belong to the American Dental Society, they might have an association plan available. So those basically the three types of plans in the market. But one of the things that we want you to do today is we want you to open this little flyer to page 6. Because next month, May, is Disability Income Awareness Month. And we want you to really, really be prepared for that sickness or accident. Because again, I said earlier, right, a lot of us are not independently wealthy. We rely on our income, right, each and every month. So if you can't put that key in the door, what are you going to do? And that's why you need to consider either a group LTD plan for your employees and yourself, or perhaps just an individual disability policy. Okay? Any questions? Is that my 8 minutes? About 8 minutes? Any questions about either state benefits or Social Security that I can answer? I've been doing this for about 30 years. And I tell you what, it makes a big difference when there's money coming in to the household versus no money. I can tell you story after story where when there's no money, the person's health declines. because they're stressed out about making the mortgage, keeping their business alive and well. And also, we also have coverages to keep your businesses up and running while you're recuperating from a sickness or an accident too. Question?
Do you have to qualify for disability insurance? Did you have to be employed by somebody, self-employed? Is there a qualification?
To purchase an individual disability policy?
Yes.
Typically, you are working at least 30 hours a week, or sometimes part-time, 20 hours a week. So you're working, you have an income, you're probably going to go through health questions depending on the plan. So typically it's almost like buying life insurance. Okay? Question in the back.
What happens to that plan if you don't use it? You don't need it?
Yeah, great question. Auto policies. What happens to our auto policy if we don't use it?
They get the money.
Yeah, they get the money, but we get the peace of mind. What happens with the homeowner's coverage if you don't use your homeowner's coverage? What happens to that premium? Again, it's risk protection, because the bottom line is that you cannot self-insure your income. Just like we can't self-insure our car, and we cannot self-insure our home. Those are two big assets that, to be honest with you, I would always make sure that I have insurance for, because I can't self-insure my home and I can't self-insure my car. But more important, I can't self-insure my income. Because if my income's taken away, the consequences of me losing my income are foreclosure. 48% of all home foreclosures in the U.S. last year, somebody got sick or hurt. 62% of all bankruptcies last year in the U.S., somebody got sick or hurt. And the majority of those folks did have health insurance, but they didn't have the type of health insurance that pays them. And that's what we want you to consider. And use this worksheet, to come up with what kind of monthly benefit you need, what type of coverage you need. Okay, any other questions?
Is that worksheet available on the lifehappens.org?
Yes, yep, it's an electronic worksheet on that. Okay, all right. Question back?
It's a silly question about the particulars of it. If there's a health event and something happens to somebody, do premiums stop and then the benefit begins, or do you continue to pay premiums during the benefit?
Yeah, great question. There is what we call a waiver of premium provision. After you've been sick or hurt for 90 days, the carriers return any monies that you paid in during that 90 day, and your premiums are waived as long as you're disabled and you're using that policy. Then when you come back to work on a full-time basis, then you'll start paying the policy premium again. Unlike your auto coverage or your homeowner's policy, we're not going to cancel you because you've used the plan, and we're not going to increase your premiums. Okay? All right, very good. Thanks for having us. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much.